Stenberg Assessment. Stay tuned for your host.
Hi, everyone. Welcome to the Lou Stenberg Assessment podcast. It's been a hot New York minute with everything going on in the world, in the news. It's crazy. I needed to take a moment from recording, so happy 2022, I should really say. I haven't recorded an episode since 2021. Still COVID. But I needed to take a break from recording. At the start of this year, I actually wanted people to get a chance, an opportunity to listen to previous podcast episodes. You know, let it sink in. So I hope you took the opportunity during COVID and even now to listen to my podcast or any podcast. It's really about getting informed and listening to other people's ideology and the opinions of others. Even if you don't agree, let's agree to disagree. That is what podcasting is all about. Today I want to speak with you about things that are easily overlooked, but has a devastating direct and indirect impact on your life. Things like wasteful government spending. And now when we say wasteful government spending, the first thing that goes to mind is on the federal level, the federal government. But there are so much wasteful government spending in your local government, in your state government. And I definitely want to talk about that. That might be on part 2. We're currently recording part 1. This episode is part 1. Before we dive right into those things that impact our life, such as wasteful government spending, I want to start off this episode by talking about Ukraine, because it's just something that cannot be swept under the rug. And what is expected of America, the great Western nation. I think I speak for 90% of Americans when I say we are greatly disappointed in the leadership of our president, Mr. Joe Biden. And let's add his VP, Kamala Harris, and Congress. I don't think the American people have ever seen, under any prior administration, such empty suits. Thinkers, but no doers. A presidential administration that is as useless as the days are long. It is a perception that goes across the board when it comes to how Americans feel, as well as on an international spectrum. It does not matter what color, race, or creed you are. There is no leadership within this current government. The Dems rule the House and Senate. We call them Congress. Democrats that should be relaxing on a nice warm beach in Boca Raton, enjoying their retirement, but instead we have a bunch of geriatric senators and representatives who, for some reason, maybe because of their age, having one foot in the grave, has created this sense of cowardly, fearful leadership. Instead of grabbing the bull by the horn kind of bravery, you've got the United States, which was, the key word here is was, viewed by other countries as one of the most powerful and greatest nation in the world. Countries that once looked up to the United States for leadership and advice on international foreign policies can now call us a nation of cowardly and untrustworthy people. All because, as Trump would say, Sleepy Joe and his administration. Plus, let's not forget the Russian madman, Putin. You've got a madman as I call him, a wannabe Hitler in training pants, because he went into war expecting Ukraine to bow down to him. But he's getting, his ass served on a platter. Like the great Anthony Hopkins would say, Putin, I bet you didn't see that one coming. Here is an ex-KGB operative who has murdered thousands of people and is clearly pushing this current administration over the point of no return, has no desire to stop what he is doing, and does not care about sanctions. Did you hear that, Joe? He does not care about sanctions. Why would he? Continue to sanction him in every possible manner, and he continues to kill and murder more innocent people as the world looks on. But everyone is waiting for the United States to get their shit together and step up as the leader of nations. This administration is treating Putin like a child that is misbehaving. The parent, being the United States, says to the child, Putin, if you don't behave yourself, we're going to take away your toy car. And the child acts out even more. The parent then says, if you don't behave yourself, we're going to take away all your electronics. The child throws an even bigger tantrum. The parent says again, if you don't behave yourself, we're going to take away blah, 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 blah. That's the United States. We're going to keep taking and taking and taking until you behave yourself. Well, the child is not behaving. What are you going to do? And I do feel for President Zelensky, because here you have a sociopath, Putin, who has entered your house. So imagine, America, someone bum rushed with weapons of mass destruction through your front door of your home. What are you supposed to do? Majority of us, or 100% of us, will defend our home to the death. Is that not what President Zelensky and the Ukrainian people are doing? Defending their home from an invader? But the United States is like the neighbor next door who's watching the invasion from the comfort of their warm home through the windows. The neighbor have guns and weapons that could help their neighbor defend off their invaders, but are too afraid to get involved. Instead, they pick up the phone and dial 911, hoping someone else would get to them in time to help. But by the time help arrives, it's too late. The problem with this administration, they are looking at the Russian invasion war and comparing it to all other wars they have royally fucked up. President Biden, you can't fuck up any more than you already have. I take that back. We still have another 3 years to go with you. Anything is possible with this administration. So because the president is fearful of screwing things up, as he always does, the United States, under President Biden's authority, have decided to sit this one out. Yeah, let's sit this one out. We screw up on Afghanistan. We screwed up here. They're just going to blame us anyway. So, so what if women, men, and children are being blown up? The president of Ukraine is begging for help. We probably should sit this one out. So much for team player. Let someone else pick up the torch. Horrid. Absolutely horrid. But this could be the war that ends President Biden's political career. When it's all said and done, it will be the war that definitely puts an end to his VP's career of ever becoming a U.S. president. Because, who's going to vote for you? You sat there as the VP and you did nothing. You and the president are supposed to work together. You're not working together. The American people see it. What kind of great nation turns its back on a sitting president like Zelensky, who has done nothing but improve his country, has helped his people. A president who has called upon the United States numerous of times to help him, and yet we continue to give the minimum of weapons that is needed to put a stop to this madman. Zelensky is not crying for help as a self-seeking motivation, but he is calling for help to save the lives of innocent people, to preserve civilization in his country from being extinct. So what does the leader of our great nation do? They send weapons. But they send weapons that will only help to procrastinate the inevitable. Weapons that do not eliminate the threat. I mean, when you think about it, the United States have CIA operatives. We also have Navy SEAL op team, special assignment units, and then we have our very strong and powerful U.S. military, along with different branches within the military that can get out there and get the job done so we all can live in peace, so our gas prices can come down. But, this administration is going to go fuck that up too. Why do we have a balance of power within our Constitution? Congress can simply override the president by vetoing his cowardly decisions when it comes to military weapons to help the Ukrainians. The sad reality is that the Democratic Party is destroying and slowly suffocating the American people. They are destroying and undoing everything your ancestors, whether your ancestors were slave or whether they were slave masters and owners, that is part of your history, whether good or bad. It is part of who you are, part of what makes you an American, part of what makes this country strong and great, because it allows us to look back at our past and relish the process and growth we have made. You can't erase history because it makes you feel uncomfortable. When you erase history, which is like an oxymoron, you have nothing to compare and reflect. You will end up repeating history again. But there's hope. I like to believe there's hope, especially for my hardworking ethnic brothers and sisters. In the last few months, I have spoken to middle-class working Black American women who have stated, I don't agree with the Democratic Party and the way they are handling things. I'm overworked and underpaid. And I felt like saying to them, well, go ahead and call the Burn and his partner in crime, AOC, because they were all for, part of this big Biden campaign, increasing wages. And this was the same guy, if I'm not mistaken, allegedly, the Bernie Sanders, who had a whole bunch of Mexicans working for him and was paying them minimum wage. Talk about the hypocrisy. It's just more lies after another. Another lie from this administration, another fabrication to win votes. So these hard-working Black American women who I've been speaking to continued on explaining that they could barely bring home enough money to take care of their family and were seriously considering voting Republican in the 2024 election. I wanted to do like a joy dance. When I heard that, I was just like, oh, thank God. It isn't about the blue being Democrat or the red being Republican. It's about the individual. And Black American women are finally opening their eyes and waking up to consciousness and realizing I want better for myself. And if I have been selecting Democrat, I maybe perhaps need to select something else because this is not working for me. the definition of insanity, of being broke and poor and continue to complain and whine and whine and whine. But then election, you go and vote for the same people, Democrat, because it's what's embedded in your head. And I don't know how it got embedded in your head that your oppressors are helping you, are here to help you, because they're not. So you go and vote Democrat, and then for the next 2 years, 4 years, 6 years, 8 years, whatever it may be, you are struggling to make ends meet. You don't have enough food on the table, that you now have to go and get governmental assistance. Another way, so governmental assistance, there goes the shackle on your legs. Then you got to depend on them for something else. Assistant. It's an endless, disgusting cycle that keeps going on from generation to generation to generation, all because you continue to vote for your oppressors. If you're doing something that is not working out, and for the last 10 years it has not worked out for you, then do something else. Vote another way and see what happens. Can't be worse than what's happening in your life now. You're struggling, and in your mind, you think the rich is getting richer, and the Democrats are there to help stop it. Well, for the last 100 years, have they helped to stop it? No. So maybe it's time to stop the insanity and start looking at the individual and not for the party the person represents. Basically, it is your dependency on wasteful government spending that has gotten you in this situation. And I'm going to talk about that in part 2 of the next episode. Because that government spending money that comes from the federal government, that is meant to help you, to help your neighborhood that you live in, to give you that stepping stone you need to reach and obtain your American dream, you're not receiving it. But nor do you care to know where that money's going. Because if you care to know what your state is budgeting for and who and where it's going, then you will stop voting for those people. You really will. Because that money, that governmental money, is taxpayers' money. And it should be spent on the citizens of the state that it's given to. It should go for road improvement. It should not be going for a new soccer stadium. Yeah, a soccer stadium or a soccer arena. That is activity that has nothing to do with education. That is an activity that is a privilege to have, not an entitlement. So taking taxpayers' money, going into rich neighborhood or wealthy to-do neighborhood, and putting that money, that government money meant to improve the state and the people that live within the state, and creating a soccer stadium. It could be a basketball court. That is not improving your life. That does not educate your children to go to college, to get a job, to become independent. It doesn't help them. So those are wasteful government spending. And so on the next episode, I'm definitely going to touch base with your local governmental officials that love to spend your money, and they're the ones who are keeping you from obtaining your goals, from obtaining the American dream. And you continue to vote for them. I mean, don't blame the rich for getting richer when you can be rich and you don't have to struggle. But you have to be informed and know where your federal governmental money is going. Okay? If it's going back into wealthy neighborhoods and it's not going into neighborhoods that really need the infrastructure change, as Biden has been freaking spewing out of his mouth, then that's abuse. Those are the people you don't want to vote for. Those are your oppressors, if you didn't know what your oppressors were. It's called picking the wrong person for the job for all the wrong reasons. Similar like what Joe Biden did with Kamala Harris. It was a strategic move to lock in votes for 2024 election, a way to prove to the world that he was not racist. Because, the president prior to him, Trump, everybody called him racist. So I would assume, Biden's mind, here comes another white president, and perhaps he's racist. Well, I'm going to prove to the black community that I'm not racist. I'm laughing at this because I've worked with somebody who actually was racist. She was racist. And she happened to be my boss. And I'm one to call you out on your bullshit. I'm sorry. I am not going to work like a slave, and then you're going to treat me like a slave. That's not going to happen. So I called her out on her racist behaviors. And the next day she came to work and she wore a t-shirt, and her granddaughter is mixed, black and white. So she wore a t-shirt with a white t-shirt, I'll never forget, with her picture on it and her granddaughter's picture on it. And she walked around, and I never said anything because I was not going to play into her ridiculous behavior. Finally, it must have really gotten to her that I ignored her the whole shift. She came up to me and she said, "Hey, look, this is my granddaughter." And I said, "That's good." "Yeah, she's black." And I said, "And white." And I said, "And that's good for you." And she goes, "See, I'm not racist." Now, only a racist person would say something like that and behave that way. You don't need to prove to me you're not racist. You need to prove to yourself and perhaps your granddaughter that you're not racist. But this is how people behave. So back to Biden picking Kamala as his VP. I don't think he knew her ideology. I don't think he knew her work history. I don't think he knew anything. He just needed a African-American woman to stand next to him so the world would not accuse him of being racist. And now they can't communicate. I mean, big whoopee. Hello. And the American people see right through that, like I said. So there you have it. Finally, the blue-collar, middle-class Americans are finally waking up to the realization that the rich are getting richer and the poor are getting poorer. And middle class will soon not exist. It will either be rich or poor. And it's happening because you continue to vote for the very people who are actually taking your money and depriving you from wealth and the pursuit of happiness, the American dream. But this is something that can be undone simply by knowing your rights, your value as an individual, understanding your ideology, and the desire to change the narrative of your life. Get informed before you vote for somebody. When you vote and elect an individual, that person becomes a representation of you, who you are, your ideology and beliefs. That elected official should be able to assist you by adding value to your life and not draining and depleting you from obtaining the American dream. It's crucial. It doesn't only impact your life, it impacts your children's life. It impacts every aspect, really, of your life. Just because you see your potential elected candidate next to a black person does not mean anything. It does not mean they love black people. They could be racist and have a motive. Just because you see your potential elected state official doing something that looks nice, so what? I can be evil and do nice things. There's evil that do nice things. It doesn't matter. You need to get informed. Just get informed. Get informed. Get knowledgeable. Stop voting for oppressors. That's it. I'm signing off. See you on April 11th. Take care.